Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We've provided a list of content warnings in the episode description.
If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we're married.
We are married.
We were already married before, but now we had a wedding.
Yeah. And so I hope you didn't mind the week interruption, but it was less than I thought it would be initially.
Did we lose a week?
Yeah.
No.
No episode went up this past week.
Really?
No.
Oh. I thought
What did you do with the other episode then?
I thought my YouTube told me that it did, but I saw my notifications later. Yeah.
So the week.
Time's flat, my friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had, we had.
Obviously, I'm really in tune with the operations behind this.
You know what? You were worried about the operations for our wedding, which went great.
Thank you.
And the operations for our honeymoon cruise, which went great.
We saw Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Highly recommend taking a Disney cruise.
Yeah, especially if you have food allergies.
Yeah. They're very good at catering to Emily's peanut allergy, and then my recent discovery of me being celiac. So we were a fun table.
But neither of us got poisoned.
Mm-hmm. And they were all very nice.
And we ate a lot of cheese.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're back.
Too much cheese. Yeah, to discuss the betrayal.
I know. Well, first you have to talk about the one before the betrayal. Or are you just going to skip
right
straight to the end?
Skip ahead. We're not covering 11, only 12.
I feel like there's a lot of plot in 11.
There's a ton of plot in 11. There's a lot happening. But yeah,
How are you doing? How you doing?
Didn't want it. I should have known, but I didn't want it to be Tobias. But, we've already got a working theory about why he's doing what he's doing, because he's still our golden boy, and he's got he has a good reason for doing what he's doing, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So Toby's a good person.
Toby's a good person. And Caleb's an idiot, but we'll get back to that.
Don't take that as an indication of the plot going anyway. I just missed my mouth a little.
But before that, like you said, we need to get to episode 11. I didn't actually. Episode 11 was a good time. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Episode 58, season 3, episode 11, single fright female. Hannah and Spencer discuss how to cover up Hannah's bandage in her cut. Spencer says, didn't Ren stitch it up so it won't bleed? And Hannah tries to find large clothes to cover it. Hannah gets a call from Ren, and Spencer hands her phone. Hannah denies the call, and Spencer's like, what's going on with Ren? Hannah tries to dodge it, but Spencer's like, you can be very persuasive. Is he moving in on you? And Spencer says, you're not the first to fall for Downton Grabby. And Hannah says, they're just like, I'm not there with this. And then as the doorbell rings, and Hannah wonders when her mom is finally going to leave. I thought, after they heard us in the past talking about how Spencer seems really chaotic this season, and then this episode, Spencer is like grounded again and like making good salient points. Down and grabby. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciated that. Ashley lets Ted in. He's there to tell Ashley about something the contractors found at the church. It's a thumb drive, and he put it in his computer. Which, did we talk about fishing last week? It's been a week. But whenever we talked about fishing, this is number one what you're not supposed to do. You don't just find random thumb drives and stick in your computer. Obviously, they didn't teach him that at church.
You know what? I learned all about fishing at church.
And yay, this gospel today reminded me a lot of cybersecurity.
You'll be fishers of men.
Right.
I'm funny.
Really good.
Thank you. I was raised Catholic.
Took a few minutes for it to set it. Like,
I was like, he's not getting my joke, and I feel like it's good.
I was on a delayed response. It was really good. And he put it in his computer, and it was full of video files that had Hannah in them. He said it doesn't seem like they knew where they were being filmed. Hannah and Spencer were walking downstairs and overhear them talking about it from the staircase, realizes it's the thumb drive that they found in Ali's locker that had all the videos on it, and they freak out about what to do. And Hannah wonders what will happen when Jenna finds out. And oh yeah, I had to ask for context, like what happened to the thumb drive. And Spencer and Ian were fighting over it back at the end of season 1. And Spencer threw it away from Ian within the church. So that's why the contractors would find it there. They sneak back upstairs when Ted and Ashley walk
and
back.
conveniently, no one swept in the last. I guess what? It's only been probably like 3 weeks, like in Pretty Little Liars.
In actual Pretty Little Liars time, yeah. They'd like fit an entire year in a few weeks, or entire season. And Ted invites her out to dinner. Ashley out to dinner and then leaves. Ashley puts the thumb drive on the front table and leaves. Hannah and Spencer come downstairs and grab the thumb drive, but Ashley stops them before they leave. Ashley asks Hannah about the videos and who took them. Ashley asks if it's Mona, and Hannah's like, yes, it is Mona. Can we get over it? Like, there's no reason to push this. Ashley says, I want to watch these first by the end of the day, and then I'll decide what to do with it.
I will also stick this potential malware in my computer.
Exactly. Well, it works so well for Ted. He's like, my computer locked up, but I was able to watch some videos. Aria wakes up Fitz with flowers and wishes him happy birthday. Fitz says he was up really late and wrote an email to Maggie but didn't send it. He's concerned her life might have spun out of control after his mom interfered, and after hearing Aria talk about his mom trying to bribe her, he got scared, and he hopes that Maggie's okay. Paige and Emily have an awkward coffee session. Paige asks her what's going on. Emily...
coffee session?
Yeah. What else you call it?
Is that what you called our dates?
Yeah.
Session?
Coffee session.
Carry on. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Emily cops... You know, who knows what I'm thinking when I write these notes. Emily cops to kissing Nate, and Paige asks why. Emily says in the moment it felt right, but she's confused about it. Paige says, I think you missed Maya, and so does he, but it doesn't mean that's how you feel toward each other, and the lines might be blurry at the moment.
Why is Paige so understanding? I mean, I know we'll unpack this, but I'm like, I don't get this character.
No.
She doesn't have a character. It's whatever the plot needs.
Yeah, and that becomes really evident by next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She just kind of... I think, you know what? She is she wants to be like the definition of like a wife guy, where it's like everything is like, oh, my wife is amazing, is gorgeous, but Emily won't be her wife. She just loves Emily so much.
Well, they are also like 16.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I get, you know, in that sense, I think it makes a little bit more sense of just like, I want to be with this person as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Aria and Spencer discuss Hannah freaking out over Jenna potentially finding out about the flash drive. They also discuss Fitz getting interested in Maggie again. Aria says, maybe I can... Yeah, so Spencer's no longer acting dumb, so Aria's turn. Says, maybe I can get in touch with her, and Spencer says, that's a horrible idea. Aria says, but out of my relationship. They see Cece passing out flyers and wonder what she's doing. Spencer goes to talk to her and asks what's going on. Cece is pissed that Spencer didn't follow back up on the event that she's putting on. And it's like, Spencer's like, oh my God, I completely forgot. Like, I forgot that I said I'd help you. Cece is passive aggressive toward her. And then Cece sees Paige and Emily together and says Ali would turn over in her grave seeing them together. Ali and Pigskin, is what she calls Paige, had it out for each other. We didn't get a flashback. Ali hangs with Spencer, Aria, and Hannah. Ali makes Spencer trade tops with her after Aria compliments her in it. Ali has a massive bruise on her back near her neck, and Hannah asks how it happened. Ali says, oh, Pigskin gave it to me in soccer during PE. They ask who that is, and Ali says, doesn't matter, especially once I'm done with her. Back in the present, Hannah messages Caleb over chat and asks if she should steal the USB, and Caleb says no. She asks what to do, and he says, just take a breath. And then we see he's across the room in the computer lab, and they do this like knowing like, oh, aren't we sneaky? You
didn't flirt over chat with girls in the computer lab?
Not really. They're not really flirting.
Well,
and no, I
mean,
didn't.
they are looking at each other. You know?
Right. He's just like, hoo-hoo. It reminds me of like the kid on the GIF where he like looks up in the computer like,
Yeah.
Jenna sneaks up behind her and says, other people need to use the computers too. Your time is up. Hannah leaves, and Caleb eyes Jenna suspiciously. We open on a newspaper that says Garrett's trial is coming up. Nate sits on a bench mad as Emily rides up on Paige's bike. Nate says she looks good. He wants to go to a movie with her, not a date. And Emily's like, we should slow down. We need to talk. And we need to keep it on a friendship level. Nate says, wow, you and Maya have a lot in common. She always used to say she was being spontaneous when she was really being reckless. I used to hear her give this speech to other guys all the time. Emily says we should talk later and rides off. On the eventual reveal on this, I really should have seen it coming more. I put it together fairly quickly once we were watching it. It's like, oh yeah, okay. I just had forgotten key pieces of information. Aria arrives at a preschool. A woman comes up and introduces herself as Maggie and says, come in, sit down. Spencer,
Isn't it first grade?
Oh, I thought it was preschool. Could be first grade.
I thought it was first grade.
Well, the notes are by no means definitive.
The kid's 6, right?
Oh, with the timeline because he was 18.
Yeah.
That would make more sense.
6 or 7.
So first grade.
And they talk about it, I think.
Yeah. Aria arrives at first grade.
We think.
That's what I said. Spencer asks Emily at school if Paige has said anything about her history with Allison. Emily says just because she has a nickname doesn't mean they have a history. Like Allison has all sorts of names for people, and I think it's weird that history is repeating itself and we're being pit against each other like Allison used to do to us. Spencer says Paige has a dark side. Don't forget she tried to drown you. Spencer,
valid.
3 for 3 in her scenes.
Valid point. Yeah. So far, she's given good advice to all of her friends. And has any one of them listened to her? No. Well, Hannah, I guess, nothing was happening.
No. Yeah. Hannah's just like, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, I've already handled it.
Right. And Spencer's like, I mean, he can be pushy. We get a POV shot watching them from behind a door. Emily's mad and walks away. Hannah walks over to Jenna to talk about the USB drive and tells her that it was found at the church. Hannah says, my friends and I had nothing to do with it, just so you know. Jenna says, well, we'll just have to see how things turn out. Nate then runs up and stops Hannah as Hannah's leaving. Nate says, Emily and I were in this groove now. I don't know where we're at. Can you help me out? And Hannah says, she's gay. She dated your cousin. Nate says, I thought it was about the person, not the equipment. Like Maya was fluid. Just gross. Hannah says,
well, I mean, that's not gross, but just him
projecting on top of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's him just describing how he describes all that, well, whatever,
yeah, well, it shouldn't apply to me.
Yeah,
I know she gave me a clear boundary, but I don't know.
Right.
Though I think Emily is technically
bi.
Yeah, or at least fluid in that way.
Totally.
They don't ever officially define it, I don't think, or she doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, and she had a boyfriend originally. But yeah, just Nate is gross.
Men are gross.
Yeah. Hannah says Emily doesn't play games, unlike some people I know, and looks at Jenna. She also makes a comment that she was playing Helen Keller. Nate picks up on this and shouts at Jenna, saying, don't pretend you didn't see me. I know you saw me. Jenna stares him down. Let it go, dude. Maggie asks Aria if she knows what grade she would like to teach, and they discuss teaching. A boy walks up to them asking for permission to go play on something, and Maggie says, gives him permission. It's that's Aria's oh, that's cute at their age they're still coming up and asking for permission to do things. She's oh, that one's different. That's Malcolm, he's my son. Aria looks awkward and Maggie says, oh, you did the math. I was a teen mom way before it was a reality show. Spencer talks to Cece about how she can't get her friends to come help out with the show she's putting on, and that she had a fallout with Emily, so we can't really get her. Cece says Allison and Paige were fighting they talk about Emily and Allison, and Cece says Allison and Paige were fighting about Emily way back when. Flashback. Cece and Allison are talking and sitting in her car. And Allison talks about how she wrote a note on Emily's stationery to Paige, telling her that she is into her, but she had a boyfriend and he's suspicious, so don't call her text. Cece tells her that she's so proud of her manipulation. They then see Paige ride up on her bike as she places a note under the bike shop sign, as Allison told her to do in the note. Allison then walks up and grabs the note, and Paige freaks out. No, not you. And Allison says, I'm the one who wrote it. Should I show this to your dad? Paige yells at her to give it to her give it back to her, and Allison says, forget about it. I own you now, and walks away. In the present, Spencer asks what Allison did with the letter, and Cece says probably nothing. Allison was a little scared of her. Emily and Paige hang. Emily asks Paige about Allison. Paige says, I didn't know her, but I knew of her. Emily says Spencer mentioned something, and Paige says, why are your friends talking about me instead of to me? Emily says, I forget I brought it up. And Paige says, don't you think you should be skeptical of your friends? You were the only one drugged at the party, and Mona turned out to be A. Emily says, I trust them, and Mona wasn't my friend. Paige says, maybe you should spend less time with them. Aria waits in Fitz's apartment, and Wes busts in, surprising her. Wes asks if she's okay, and Aria asks why he told her about Maggie. Wes said he's like, I assumed Fitz already told you, and didn't mean to mess with your head. And Aria says, I went and saw her in Wilmington because Fitz needed to know she was okay, and she has a 7-year-old that looks like young him. So yeah, first grade. Wes says maybe she said it was her kid because she was threatened by Aria being there. And Aria says she didn't know who I was. Why didn't she say anything to Fitz? Spencer texts Hannah to talk about Paige, but they agree not to tell Emily about this. Spencer changes into a dress in the dressing room, and we see the door to the room lock. Spencer sees that the text failed and there's no service. And suddenly a snake sneaks out of a box, and Spencer freaks out as she tries the door, but it's locked and yelling for Cece. No one's coming, and eventually the door opens and Spencer falls out, and Cece goes on the attack and hits the snake. Spencer tells Hannah about the incident with the snake, and Hannah says it's Jenna, it has to be, but Spencer says she used the word snake outside the girls' locker room, so she assumes it's Paige. She says the shadow that grabbed Maya must have been Paige. She was jealous of Allison and Maya. Hannah's phone rings, and it's Emily, and Spencer tells her we don't know what we're going to say to her, and Hannah says we shouldn't pick up, and Hannah is well, we can say hi, and then picks up the phone. Emily can't find Maya's pocket knife, and they assume someone got in and stole it. Hannah hangs up and thinks that A snuck into her house, and Spencer says it's probably Paige. So we're back on regular Spencer now. Wes and Aria get ready for Fitz coming home. Although, it's fair enough.
You know what? I just realized with the whole snake thing and everything, Spencer would have been an excellent Swiftie.
Picking this up.
The Easter eggs, the motifs, the following, knowing what was fact, what was fiction, what was a literary illusion, things like that. Spencer would have been an excellent modern day Swiftie.
You would have very good theories.
And 50% would be wrong.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what's out there anyway.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it was I said snake outside of this, and then there was a snake, so therefore it must be Paige, that I was aha, I'm seeing what I see on TikTok just right here.
I've seen this before. Wes and Aria get ready for Fitz coming home, and Aria wonders how to broach the Maggie situation. Wes says, maybe I could tell him, and Aria says it's not good cover. Wes says, I'll be here for moral support. Aria cries and says she doesn't know how to handle things. Hannah and Spencer are with Cece, and she assures them that there's no more snakes here. Spencer mentions that Emily is coming, and Cece is happy about that. Hannah grabs a dress from Cece to wear and takes it back to change. The dressing room door opens behind her. Someone grabs her, but it turns out it's Caleb. And he says, I talked to Ashley and mentioned that Wilden and his cronies would be watching Hannah in a bikini on a loop. So that really clicked with her, but she doesn't know what she'll do with the USB. Hannah thanks him, and Caleb says, I don't know how much longer I can do this sneaking. They make out. Cece brings in shoes, but doesn't see Caleb hiding in the dressing room. And they discuss if Jenna is going to be around, and Hannah says, I don't know if she's the one we should be worried about. Fitz comes home and is happy to see them both. He says he called Maggie, and she's doing well. We only had a brief call, but I feel relieved she's doing okay. He goes to shower, and Wes and Aria look at each other guilty. Cece and Spencer see Emily arrive with Paige, and things get awkward. Cece and Emily go to try on clothes. Paige asks how she can help, and Spencer gives her some tests for setting up displays at the store. Paige talks about her style and how she likes to fly under the radar, and that being with Emily has made her feel more confident. I know you and your friends have reservations about me, but I would like to make a fresh start, and accidentally bends the hand on a mannequin, the fingers all the way back. Fitz blows out his birthday candles, and Wes sneakily tells Aria that he wonders if his mom is still paying Maggie to keep quiet. Aria says, talk to your mom to confirm that because we don't want Maggie to get punished. Spencer says to Hannah that Paige is trying to kill them with kindness and wonder if the knife is in Paige's bag. Hannah hands dresses off to Paige to go take them to Emily in the back. And then they start digging through Paige's purse. And then Emily walks back in and catches them and says, Paige and I are leaving. Hannah says, good going. Now Emily will hate us. So she's like, we needed proof and we got it, and shows Hannah something in her hand that the audience can't see. Emily and Paige are on Emily's porch, and Emily says, I'm sorry we went tonight. It's Cece driving this. Like, Paige says, no, it was Allie. She spent 9th grade torturing me. I pushed back, but I had no idea what I was up against. She starts to break down, that she was relentless and I had nobody to turn to. I thought if I disappeared forever, she would win, but I wouldn't let her win. Emily embraces her. Ashley sits at home with the thumb drive on the kitchen counter. Hannah asks if she watched it, and Hannah says she did, and she's going to take care of it. She puts it down the kitchen drain and runs the garbage disposal. Hannah says, thank you. Ashley says, I did that for me, too. Apparently, Mona liked to film adults, too, and caught Wilden and I. Doorbell rings, and Ashley lets Ted in. Ted says, glad you're happy. I thought the videos would shake you. Ashley says they didn't. Ted says, we should take it to the police, and Ashley says, well, I can't. And Hannah interrupts and says, I destroyed it. Ted says, well, that's that, and they go off on their date. Aria looks at the earring that she dumped in Allison's grave. Spencer had found it in Paige's bag. She bets that she dug it out of Allison's grave and has her body and maybe A. How are we going to tell Emily? Emily and Paige are hanging at Emily's house still, and Paige goes inside to use the bathroom. Emily sits alone, and we get a camera shot of circling her in the yard. She turns and sees Jenna there, saying she needs to talk to her about her friend. She notices the 2 coffee cups and says, I thought you were alone, and goes to leave. Emily asks what's wrong, and Jenna says, be very careful who you spend time with, and that Emily should be careful. Jenna gets in a cab as the driver loads her luggage. Paige goes over to Emily's phone and denies a call from Spencer. A gloved hand loads a jukebox and hits play on a song, and another gloved hand comes up and holds out their hand as the other one drops a key into it. The end.
Okay. My notes open to the things you've said while sleep talking instead. You'll everyone have a good time. Let me I'll read that one for you. Okay. Why can't Hannah just tell her mom she got a cut?
Because it's like super deep. Like she got stitches and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know what else she would have gotten the cut on, but yeah, I mean, Hannah's not good at lying also.
That's
and
true.
Her mom is like, well, I can catch you no matter like what you say. I know when you're lying, Hannah. But yeah.
What do we think the implications of the Ted seeing that thumb drive is?
Yeah,
do we think Ted watched all of it?
To be a little suspicious of Ted here. He seems like a nice fellow, doesn't he? I mean, it could just be a wild red herring. It's like, he happened to find the thumb drive and maybe didn't see everything. Did he see some more things than he let on? I mean, I would assume that he probably saw like the Ashley stuff and is like trying to like keep quiet about it. But then at the same time, what's his angle for being like, this should go to the police? I understand if he saw the stuff with kids and he's just like, this is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But also,
maybe he turned it off immediately.
Yeah, he could have. And just been like, nope, get away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's if we believe he's such a good guy, which he probably is. But I can see this coming back around as like, we should start being suspicious of Ted like they do with Paige in these episodes.
Why is Paige so weirdly understanding about Emily kissing Nate and just in general?
Yeah.
We talked about this really briefly, but
No, I think there's I thought this was going to go way worse. I mean, I was predicting last time. But I think she just really likes Emily. And so just really wants to be with Emily. And that's kind of her main character trait.
mm-hmm.
And so like really it's like, okay, like I know you're going through a weird time. And so like is more understanding to her because she does really like her and really love her. And while she is like frustrated, it's also at the same time, it's like, she's been through some shit. Like Emily's really been through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, there's a lot of, I like really like trusting and liking this person and then, understanding what they've been through.
Life is complicated.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I thought I was surprised how like that wrapped up, that Paige is like understanding, not wild.
Mm-hmm.
So then it, goes against everything else you're hearing in this episode of like, she's this horrible person potentially, and like has a secret past with Allison. Like, what could that be? It could be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And yet
Here we are.
Yeah, you get like a really good side of Paige this entire episode. Someone who is like trying really hard and is feeling also really betrayed by her, like Emily's friends.
Yeah. Speaking of Paige and Ali, what do we think about that drama? Where do we think that's going to lead us?
Oh, because it is suspicious that she had. Well,
she lied to Emily about having beef with Ali?
No, I don't think that's suspicious because I think she's like, I don't know how to bring this up because you were really good friends with her. And also at the same time, she was like, I was pining for you all that time. And so like Paige is pretty, compressed isn't the right word, but like, you know, you're really holding in everything tight.
It's really keeping things close.
Exactly. And so is still learning to be able to express herself. So I actually don't think it's going to go anywhere other than some red herrings like it did this episode. If it's going to be like, oh, she has some past with Allison that she wanted to get revenge. But I think it's really just like, this person made my life hell. And like really made me feel awful for being like queer. And so I can see it going that way. Like potentially there is like even some like, Allison leading her on or something. I think it would go in that direction more than anything of like really playing with her up and down, like leading her on, but then like also getting more on like dirt on her, like that kind of stuff is where I think that's going.
Fair enough. School aiming was a thing. Did you have fancy computers at your high school?
Not like that. Well, I guess we did kind of have computers like that were just like standard Dell. You kind of like, you know, there's the black boxes that had the gray like buttons and stuff on the front. Yeah, that's what we were running.
And wouldn't you have to have logged in as like yourself? Like that's how ours worked. So like I'm like, oh, this is obviously not modern. It was modern probably for when we were in high school, but like not modern to where we are now in society, because now you'd be like, no, the school can see all of what I've wrote.
Right, exactly.
They know who's on the computer.
And I'm sure chats and stuff were completely blocked. But no, they're just having their like, you know, their flirtatious little chats across the thing. They're being sneaky.
Having a flirty little chat.
Also, Caleb, you should know, like, come on, like that stuff's gonna get picked up.
Yeah, it's not encrypted.
No. If A wanted to, they would definitely find
if A wanted
to, were together.
He would.
Yeah.
Spencer's been hitting hard this episode. You touched on this. Hannah with Ren, Aria with Don't Go Looking for Maggie, Emily with Paige tried to fucking drown you. Like, she's back on. What do you think that means for our girl Spencer?
Well, boy, I would have said good things if we had not watched 12. But it was like, okay, like, cool. We've got like Spencer now, like hitting the ground running for like finding out some stuff. I think she's gonna, unfortunately, start seeing some other things pop up, but not want to believe it. And that's really gonna throw her through a loop. And we're gonna get erratic Spencer still of like pointing fingers.
You got the hiccups?
I do have the hiccups. And not wanting to believe what we know now. So yeah, she was on one to the. I love the like, you know, like whatever is he into you? Like I've been there. Like he can be pretty pushy. He can be pretty persuading. He's this like, you know, this like gentle British man. Yeah, I loved how that played out. Instead of being a love triangle or something, it's just like, no, I understand. Like he's can be pretty persuasive. This guy's good looking and he's charming.
He's got a British accent.
Yeah, and then for everybody else, it's just like, you need to like wake up. Especially Aria, it's just like, this is the worst idea you've ever come up with.
Is the kid Ezra's?
Yeah, I'm assuming it is.
Why do we think Maggie's not telling Ezra?
I don't think she wants. Well, I would think she wouldn't want him in his life. Like, I'm doing this on my own. There's this weird shit with your mother. Your mother literally paid me off. So like, it's fine that like we can catch up and say hey and stuff, but I don't want you to have a part in this because of all the weird things with your family, and that puts a target on my back. And so it's just like, yeah, like we need to keep this little hush hush and we can have this like nice conversation, but I'm not going to let you back in because your mother's going to get me and you have more money than God to come after me.
Where did the snake come from? Who locked Spencer in?
That was a weird one. Like it's just kind of like out of nowhere that we get this like attack pretty much. And I wouldn't think Cece's doing it on her own to like come after him. Because that'd be like weird. It's just kind of like the whole like kind of like subplot with Cece is just to kind of force them to be around like Paige and stuff. But I was like, I don't really know where any of this is going or how this ties into it. But I mean, best guess, it would be like Mona or like the A team, I guess. But otherwise, it's just like just kind of random, just kind of out of the field. But I think it, like you were saying, like, oh, this would be a good Swiftie. This is such a stretch to be like, I said snake out of the girls' life. It's like, yeah, you probably say a lot of things.
Yeah, in front of people all the time. Y'all aren't very quiet.
No, definitely not. Everybody's hearing like, Jesus Christ, they shit talk so many people.
Well, and they're the victims of bullying. Like someone should tell someone.
Right.
Where did the knife go? The one that had Emily and Hannah had used during their lock-in that Hannah stabbed herself in that had the LJ on it? Right.
I think we find out next episode that Nate took it. So I think Nate grabbed it from her bag and stuff. Because she had seen him before the knife goes missing, right? She like shows up on Paige's bike and he's just like, oh, hey, you're so hot. She's like, whoa, slow down. So Nate took it. Bad news bears.
Hannah's wearing a raccoon shirt and it made me desperately miss the year 2012.
Oh yeah, it's just like a raccoon face.
Just a fat face on a like a white tank kind of like shirt, like the sheer tanks that we saw wear.
It's really funny.
This is peak like Emily fashion. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is really that like era where I was like,
where you hit your stride.
Yeah.
Animal faces, tank tops.
These sheer shirts with lacy things underneath.
There you go.
Lacy things that were sheer with shirts underneath. It was a very confusing time.
There's a lot of layers.
Yeah, but it was less layers than when you first start the show. The layers aren't long anymore.
It was the shirt. It was like the tank underneath the shirt.
Or do you remember when boys used to wear like multiple polo shirts layered? They'd wear like 2 polo shirts layered and they'd like pop the collar.
Yeah, so luckily that didn't happen. I don't think that really happened at my school, but I do know that this is a phenomenon.
Huh. Interesting.
I know there was it's still kind of a thing where it's like long sweater over shirt. Almost kind of thing.
For men?
Yeah. Like long sleeve over like a short sleeve underneath.
Oh, I feel like that's just getting dressing in layers for...
I know, but it was like it'd be like a green with like a white. And it would be like you could see it. Never mind.
Okay. Are you saying a short sleeve shirt over a long sleeve?
Opposite.
Oh.
It was like a specific type of look where you wore like a kind of sweater. That's all right.
No, now I desperately want to know what
it was called bundling up. And it was what everybody was doing in the mid 2000s.
When it was really cold in Southern California, sometimes we'd put a long sleeve shirt over a short sleeve shirt.
I don't know how to describe it better.
No, I know you don't just mean like putting on a sweater like a shirt, but
yeah, a lot of people do that in cold climates. Sometimes they even put on snow pants, jackets.
You ever put a jacket over that, or what if you put a sweater over that long sleeve shirt and that t-shirt, and then an outside jacket? Caleb used misogyny. Ask not what you can do for misogyny. Ask what misogyny can do for you. He protected Hannah through using the creepiness of men.
Right.
And to that we are thankful. Should he have had to do that?
No, probably not. Also, like, Ashley, you didn't think about that? Like, looking through the videos that, like, this is going to end up in the hands of Wilden?
Well, I think she did once she saw the video of her with Wilden.
Right.
All of a sudden it became about Ashley.
Yeah. It's like she doesn't have a daughter.
Why did Paige have the earring from the casket?
Oh, my assumption now, again,
now that you know,
hindsight from 12, is it was planted or dropped in there to, arouse suspicion.
How did it get planted or dropped in there, though, with who we know is on the A team? How did they not get noticed?
That with like Paige there. I mean,
Yeah.
I am also making the assumption that like Jenna is on the A team too.
Oh.
Still operating with that theory. So
Okay.
any number, she still has more people that could have been in that locker room too that dropped it in. So that's what she seems. In my mind, she is exonerated.
Okay. Allie spent most of 9th grade torturing me, Paige quote. But I'm like, Miss Girl, you and everyone else.
Right. Allison had a lot of time. But I mean, Paige didn't know that because Paige felt very alone and isolated because it was about her being gay and then her targeting her because of that. She's
Allie was participating in many hate crimes at one time.
100%. Like, good God. Like, putting Emily on some type of crazy roller coaster at the same time and also making making Lucas's life hell, making Mona's life hell. Allison was busy. So, but I mean, Paige, I understand, was isolated and didn't know where to go. And that fell awful. I think that stuff really works.
I think that fits her character, which is like
right.
what we assume her character is based off of the times they let her have her own plot line.
Right. Very sensitive and scared and fearful.
Do you think Paige is a Cancer?
I could see it.
The Marin women always use a kitchen appliance to destroy a flash drive.
They really do.
A blender, a garbage disposal.
I feel like also putting it down the garbage disposal, you wouldn't really know if it's completely like messed up and destroyed.
Well, and where does that all go?
The garbage disposal? Like, I mean, down the drain.
But it's like
sewage and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like you would maybe just want to get a hammer. You can even use you could use a different kitchen appliance to break it there.
Well, I mean, Hannah used a blender once. Which I don't think would have worked either, but
yeah, you just gotta like stick with the kitchen though in the Marin household.
Yeah, I think it's like to show like how they really don't use their kitchen.
Oh, right.
But I like it.
I mean, you can chop it into tiny little pieces using a kitchen knife.
So, which friend was Jenna warning Emily about?
Nate.
And why did Jenna leave town?
To get away from Nate. Because like Nate says in the next episode that he was worried. He thinks that Jenna saw him with Maya. And so like I think she's like realizing that he's dangerous and puts it together a little bit before I did that he was the guy from camp. But to defend myself on that one, I thought that was fabrication. I thought that was just a cover. I didn't think there was actually a guy from camp stopping her, which, whoops.
Believe women.
Believe women.
Ay, Dios mío.
I know. Yeah, not a good look.
No, but it's okay.
Yeah. But I mean, you could really
It is a fictional show, so I forgive you.
For being like, but I'm like Spencer over here being like, this means something else. Missing the forest for the trees.
The true Swiftie.
Yeah, exactly. And we see that he's also like not afraid to like go after women when he's angry. Yeah,
he's violent. Why'd she go? Okay, we can talk about this in the next one. I'm like, why would you go anywhere with this man?
For Emily, but Emily doesn't. He
gets mad at her when she doesn't want to date him.
Right. Yeah. So Emily did already see that. That should have been a warning sign. Emily is too nice.
She is canonically Catholic after all.
That's right. I can save this man. At my church. Have you been baptized? But yeah, and she also doesn't see where he like shows up at school. Yeah, we had already talked about the red flags with Nate in the previous episode, but they really raise up in this one. And then I felt dumb. It was just like, oh right, yep, that thing. Like, well, you'd kind of completely disregarded that. So,
well, that's all I have for this one.
Okay,
you ready for the next one?
I am. Okay. Here's the big one. Episode 59, Season 3. Episode 12, The Lady Killer, a.k.a. The BetrAyal. Open on an ambulance being loaded with someone in a stretcher.
Are you going to be okay recounting this one?
If I need to take a break, I'll clean it up in post.
Okay.
Open on an ambulance being loaded with someone in a stretcher. They drive away, and we see a body bag being wheeled over. Hannah cries as Aria holds her with Spencer. Emily is talking to the police, and they asked if the deceased was a friend of hers. He asks if she knew the victim, and she says yes, and the cop repeats the question, asking if they were a friend of hers. We get a flashback now, or we go back into the past. As the news mentions that the jury is being selected for Garrett's trial, and Veronica is speaking to the press. Hannah talks to Spencer and Aria, asking how it got so big. The friends all discuss how to handle Emily coming over, since they told her they were going to apologize, but are actually going to hit her with the truth over Paige. Hannah wonders why Paige would drug Emily and drug herself. Spencer says drugging yourself is the perfect alibi. Wrong. Hannah says, what is the connection to Mona? One covers the other's tracks, is what Spencer says. They hear a knock, and Spencer lets in Emily. The friends begin, and Emily's like, this isn't an apology. And they try to start talking about her and like Paige, and Emily gets dug in. She goes to leave, and Hannah shows her the earring. Emily says, we found a lot of other things in places A put them, and walks off. And Spencer asks, well, now what? Aria sits alone at school, and Hannah walks over saying Emily missed school. Aria says Emily was right to call me out this morning, and tells her about Maggie and Fitz's kid. Hannah says you have to tell him the truth. Aria says I'm afraid to rattle the cages too much, and Hannah says Allison was wrong about secrets keeping us close. They tear us apart. Spencer opens her locker and sees Paige. She says, if you have something to say, say it. Paige says, leave Emily alone. If you won't back down, you're the one who will get hurt. Spencer says, I know who you are, and Paige leaves. Emily and Paige hang, and Emily says they're all after you. Paige says, do they not want you to be happy? And Emily says, it's A circling us. Paige says, you mean Mona? And Emily says, there's another A setting us up, and spills about the grave. Paige realizes the friends think she's A. Paige gets a text from a blocked ID telling her to go to Rosewood Cemetery or someone gets hurt. But we don't see who the person would be, who would get hurt, because her finger blocks that part of the text. She tells Emily she has something that she has to take care of, but we'll see Emily Monday and we'll go to the trial with her. They kiss, and Emily misses Spencer's call. Spencer and Aria are at the lunch table, and Aria says maybe we should go to her house. Hannah comes over and says that Paige isn't here either. Aria says, I'm willing to take this to the cops, and Hannah says, don't do that. Spencer says maybe we should call Emily's parents, and Aria agrees, but Hannah is reticent. They all get texts that says, stand down, bitches, play it my way, and Emily stays safe. A nurse leaves Radley, and we see that it's Mona in a nurse uniform. Spencer says that maybe we should tell our parents about A, and Hannah feels bad about Emily jumping into A, and then a monster with Paige. Spencer gets an email from A saying, let's settle this. Allie's grave at 10 p.m. Bring Maya's bag. And the attachment is a picture of Aria and Emily from the night of the grave, and another one with Hannah and Aria and the shovel. The last picture is a body bag with a caption that says, tell Emily and I will leave you holding the bag. They hear a noise and go to investigate, and they see a shadow downstairs. They close the door and wait to attack, and Caleb comes in. Aria asks what he's doing here when he should be watching Emily's house, and he says there's a dozen reporters out there and her mom's home. Emily picks up her phone to Hannah, and Hannah is asking if she's okay. Emily says, I'm going out of town with Nate this weekend to the Lighthouse Rock Inn. Payne comes in saying Emily should be good, with her. I should actually stay with her family this weekend. When he says it'll be okay, Nate's parents will be there too. I need a moment away from Garrett to celebrate Maya. Hannah and Spencer go their separate ways after coffee, and we see a news crews assembling. Spencer sees Toby approach, and he runs up to embrace her, and they kiss. Aria brings Fitz tea. Her phone goes off to a text from Hannah asking if she's told him. Then there's a knock at the door, and Aria goes to answer, and she opens it to Maggie. Maggie is confused by Aria being there, and Fitz is surprised to see Maggie and invites her in. Fitz introduces Aria, and Aria goes to tell Fitz, but Maggie instead goes with Aria's cover story and says, it's nice to meet you. The three catch up, and then there's a knock at the door again, and Maggie asks Aria when they're alone why she didn't tell him the truth. Aria asks why she's here and if she's going to tell him. Maggie says, he won't find out you're lying, Aria. There's more to the story, and I need to see if it's best for Malcolm. You're not the only one with the secret. Caleb packs his bag as Hannah walks in the room and sees he has a gun. She tells him to get rid of it. Caleb says, A almost killed my mom. Hannah yells at him to get rid of it. He hides it instead in her clothing drawer and says it will stay there until Monday, and then I'll get rid of it. Hannah says, this all feels too easy. Paige and Mona giving up like this. Caleb says it'll all go well. 2 of them and 4 of us. Caleb, why'd you bring a gun? You don't know what show you're in, obviously. Mona is in a hoodie and gloves in a bathroom. She answers a call saying she's here and then replies later that she understands. Spencer and Toby make out and go to have sex. We cut to a montage of Emily sleeping and Nate covering her with a blanket, Hannah grabbing her bag and going to leave, Caleb going back and grabbing the gun from Hannah's drawer. Only the best decisions, Caleb. Maggie and Fitz catch up as Aria looks sad. Spencer asks if Toby got the job accounting over to get away from her, and Toby says no. She says, come back, and he says, I'm exactly where I need to be. Toby says, I love you, and Spencer says, I love you too. They hug, and Toby has a moment of hesitation on his face. This is where I went, oh no, Toby, what'd you get yourself into? Spencer calls Hannah to say that she's ready for this to be over. We then cut to a new A layer as Mona looks around. She says, chains of plans to a person in a hoodie sitting in a rocking chair. Caleb walks Hannah and Aria and Spencer through the recording setup that he has. Like they'll be like monitoring on the phone and things. He takes Maya's bag away to get out of sight on Spencer's advice. Emily answers a call on the rotary phone in the cabin. The voice on the other end says you have 1 minute to get out, and she notices that Nate's gone. At the graveyard, it's 10:40 and no one's there. Hannah calls Nate but gets his voicemail. Hannah radios Caleb, but he sees nothing. Emily looks around the cabin. Graveyard. Nate gets voicemail. Emily looks around the cabin. She sees a bag on the table and goes to look through it. She finds her letter to Maya's family that she had given Nate a while back. She puts it back in the bag as Nate comes in and with fireworks saying, hey, Storb's coming this way. She sees yellow paint on his shoes, and she then looks through her photos on her phone from Maya's website and sees the same yellow paint on a shoe in one of the photos she had up. At the graveyard, there is still no one showing up. Hannah gets a call from Caleb, and he tells them he's driving to Baymar, which is one of the locations for the Lighthouse Inn, and the girls are going to go to the Bayhead location to try and find Emily. Nate makes tea for Emily, and she notices that there's no service on her phone. Emily says, I'm going to go get some fresh air, and he says, I'll go with you, but she says, I'll find my own way, and he cuts her off at the door to give her her jacket. Emily walks through the trees to find service and makes a call, but sees Nate there. She says, you scared me half to death, but he says, not really, but I will now. Emily's inside the cabin watching a video from Maya saying she's sorry to Emily, but she's staying at Noel Khan's cabin hoping to get herself out of the mess she's in. Her stalker has caught up to her, but she's going to come home. Nate stops the tape and Emily asks why he's doing this. He says, I think you know the answer, but you don't know how much I loved her. He holds up a knife to her and says, hearing you talk about Maya made me feel connected to her. You took her from me, but you gave me some of her back. I'm going to take something from you and you're going to watch me do it. He opens up a closet to show that Paige is in there tied up with tape covering her mouth. The other three friends are in the car, and Hannah talks to Caleb on the phone. He says, I love you, and hangs up. Nate continues to hold up Emily and says, you spurning me meant I had to hurt you. Emily sees her phone sitting nearby and grabs it when Nate's back is turned. He grabs Paige out of the closet. The 3 friends approach the location of the inn. Spencer sees a light on in the cabin, and they go to see if someone's there. Nate holds up a knife to Paige. Emily says, my friends and mom know I'm here. They'll find you. Nate says they think you're here with Nate St. Germain, but he doesn't exist. I'm Lyndon James. Also, I think Jenna saw me with Maya, and with Maya's parents in town, time's up. The 3 friends approach the door. Nate hears something outside and goes to look. He says, damn it, as Emily escapes. The 3 friends open a door to an empty cabin. Emily runs in the woods as Nate chases after her. 3 friends go to leave, and Hannah says she's calling Caleb. We find Emily in a lighthouse, and still doesn't have any service. She hears a metallic noise and gets some slight service and calls 911. We see Nate jump in and attack her. They fight in the lighthouse. Emily gets a hold of Nate's knife, but he continues to attack her. She stabs him, and he falls to the ground. Caleb then runs up to the lighthouse to find her and Nate. He sets down the gun and embraces Emily. We see the outside of the lighthouse as a gun goes off. We're back to the opening scene as we see Caleb loaded into the ambulance with a chest wound. We get back to the cops asking Emily questions. Paige talks to the cops about the text she received and her getting captured. Paige walks over to where Emily is, and Emily runs over instead to embrace Hannah and her friends. Spencer sees Paige and looks sad. The friends all wait at the hospital. Pam arrives saying Caleb's still in surgery, but so we don't know. Pam then gets called to the desk. She's like, that's strange. Emily asks if it's Dad, but Pam said she never reached him. He doesn't know we're here. Their phones then all go off as Pam walks away to an incoming call. The voice says, Emily, I owe you one. We then see Garrett and Veronica enter. Veronica says, thank you. You helped an innocent victim. Because of you, Garrett is a free man. He looks over and smiles. This scene's inconsequential, so I'll just kind of go through it real quick. Mona's in a nurse uniform walking with someone. She says, if I knew Nate was going to get Garrett out, I would have stayed in tonight. You have to get Maya's cell phone back. It shouldn't be too difficult. Paige doesn't even know she has it. It sucks we didn't get to make that phone call. But ring, ring, what's Paige doing, with Maya's cell phone? She says, oh, well, even the best big plans go awry. She goes back in and says, I'll see you soon. And then the hooded figure turns around and we see it's Toby. I mean, it's just whatever. The hooded figure then goes over to photos of Allie's wall and picks up a flyer for the Halloween Ghost Train party. They make a call asking for 2 tickets to the Halloween train.
Who was it again in the hood?
Toby.
I know it was. How does it feel?
It's not good. Not good. But you know what? He's got a good reason. Like he's doing it for a good reason. Like, we'll get into that in Theory Corner.
Yeah.
But it was a betrayal, as in we don't know his reason, but I believe he's got good intentions.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I can now finally tell you. Sorry, I ate too many Wheat Thins while you were talking, and now I have a little burpy burp. I was trying to find the pictures to go with what I was going to share with you.
Okay.
So I think I'll start with my favorite fact. 3 endings were filmed for this. 3 hooded figures were revealed. Who were they?
Okay, so Caleb being one, I think.
Okay.
And so Toby.
Uh-huh.
And then the last one was 3 hooded figures. Last one being maybe I'm trying to think who was in this episode of side characters. I guess I'll go with Fitz.
No, you were right. So it is Toby, obviously.
Yeah, I got one right.
And these alternate endings were released on the season 3 DVD, apparently. Reveal number 2, Caleb.
Okay.
You got 2.
Right. It really makes sense, too, where we see Caleb alone driving. So you could really see that he's operating on his... there's plausibility that you can work him in as a part of the A-team.
Number 3, Paige.
I thought about that, but then at the same time, it wouldn't really make sense. Well, I guess it could still work out. But I wonder what that dialogue would be then, because they talk all about Paige being... it's oh, she has her phone and stuff. I guess it would still be oh, we didn't ever had to make the call. I know you have Maya's phone. Blah 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 blah.
Well, I think they would have then said oh, Toby has, it would have been planted on someone else.
Right. Yeah. And I guess it would be wow, sorry that you got held up by Nate. Glad you made it out okay, I guess.
That was close. Don't let it happen again. Or...
Right. Yeah. I think just because of how Paige's plotline in this episode, I wouldn't think she would be the hooded figure at the end, but just to throw people off, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just thought that was an important piece of information to share.
Oh yeah, no, it's really interesting when shows do that.
Because you have to think this was peak Pretty Little Liars. Leaks were going to happen.
Totally. I mean, I mean, there's all kinds of like times that they do that with like killers and stuff like that to really throw people off. But I mean, going back to Twin Peaks, but they had to film that scene multiple times in Twin Peaks. So like it really, I think it was Sherilyn Fenn, right? Really got put through the ringer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Okay.
So
observations on this episode. Is Hannah Allie's foil? Because like Allie's like, secrets keep us together, and Hannah's like, secrets keep us apart. Is Hannah all of the good that Allie couldn't be? Yeah,
I think you're right on that. She's upfront with people. She doesn't play games. Like she always like at least tries to be the opposite of Allison. I want to bring people together. I'm very loyal. And that would also make sense too with how Allison picked on her and like belittled her, dehumanized her.
Yep.
That the person she was always competing against was Hannah in a sense. Was always the opposite person of her, where she could like get everybody else on the hook. She just had more power over Hannah, where Hannah never had that same sort of drama, I guess, as everybody else that like Allison could try and like trick and do them too. So yeah, I completely like agree with that.
Should Emily have told Paige about A?
No, just because I'd say yes. In terms of the reason I say no is in terms of like what could potentially happen is that like it could get like spread around. She can accidentally tell someone else, or someone else can like do things, or Paige might start butting in more about things. But I'm always for them telling the other people, even if it might end up being a bit of a mistake. I was yelling about Toby, but I didn't know Toby already knew, or did he already know?
When did Toby join the A team? Do you
think? But I think probably telling Paige is fine. I don't think Paige is wrapped up in anything big like that.
Where did Caleb get a gun?
Where did Caleb get a gun? Is Caleb on the dark web buying things? That would be like plausible to me. But I mean, as soon as you see it, classic.
Was the dark web already a thing then?
Probably. I know it was at least like a year or two later when I was in college. So I could see it still being a thing then. Or like, Caleb's been in some rough stuff, if you remember correctly.
Oh yeah, no, he's from the wrong side of the tracks, but now his mom lives in Montecito.
Right. But like, he's still got the connections for guns. Caleb.
Even though he's trying to like not be found because of, his life before.
Right. I completely had forgotten
his life
of crime or being part of organized crime. But it's just so funny. It's just like, yep, okay, he's got a gun. This is only going to go bad. Like, he's going to get shot.
What do you call it? Instead of Schrodinger's cat, it's
Chekhov's gun.
Chekhov's gun. That's what it was. Sorry.
The gun doesn't exist, and we don't know. I mean, you put the gun in a box. But I
think I like Schrodinger better.
But yes, Caleb's gun. It's going to go off in the third act. And of course it does. Like, of course Caleb gets shot with his own gun.
Yeah.
It's so funny that Caleb like walks up to the lighthouse and he's like, "Are you okay?" Sets down gun.
Yeah, because he's stabbed. So obviously stabbed people can't get up.
No, Emily shot him.
Emily shot Caleb?
Yeah.
Bleak. Spoby have sex for the first time.
Yes, they do.
And he tells her that he loves her.
And I believe that's all true.
Okay.
But you're hiding a big secret there, buddy. You're part of the opposite side. But this is just how they operate. They make all of these plans outside of one another, and they reconvene at some later date, like the end of season 2. I
think it's because if Spencer and Toby actually work together, there would be very little mystery in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Or there would be a whole lot more
chaos, incorrect chaos, because he's the muscle to her theory.
Spencer, I don't know, and she's like, "Just do it." Why do we have them in our car in the trunk? We didn't need to like capture Jenna.
You know she can see you.
But yeah, it's interesting that this is because they've made it at a point of calling out specifically with Spencer and Toby of this is going to be our first time. I want it to be special. This like come up a couple times just to
Because Hannah and Caleb already did that
right, but they really
in
focus
a tent.
That's right.
You know, because Hannah camps because she went to fat camp. That was that whole thing. Or was it because she used to go camping with her dad? I can't remember.
I think it was that.
She had also gone to fat camp.
Because Caleb didn't have a home. And so she brought a tent and things for them to sleep in because he's going to sleep at a bus stop.
Yeah. But I meant why she knew how to do all the tent and camping stuff.
Oh, I see.
No, I knew the why, but like
the how.
Yeah.
Why the Hannah of all people would know how to camp.
Because they had to throw a line in there about it because it like if not, it doesn't make sense with their character.
Right. But it's funny. I mean, they do it just so like Spencer will feel the rug pulled out from under her when she eventually finds out that he's been like part of the A team and lying. But because Toby's been so non-existent the last time we saw him, it's like all their like relationship mending has been like happening off screen. Because the last time they were really together, Toby's like, well, I'm going to go my own way.
Yeah, and then they've talked about being on the phone and stuff like that.
Right. So it doesn't like hit because it's just like, weren't you like mad at each other the last time we really talked? We haven't had that like emotional investment. It's just like, you're back. Why is now the time you're suddenly feeling like together and close? Doesn't other than
because he hasn't been around.
I guess, but
and she's been talking about talking on the phone with him a lot. So I think like
I think that's it. But
they didn't show
exactly, so it doesn't like hit the same.
Mm-hmm.
He's been very non-existent this season, other than being like Spencer.
Yeah, you have to also remember too, these were released in weekly installments where you were like, it's been a while since I've seen Toby, but like, what was happening there? And then you've kind of forgotten. Not to victim blame. Why would Emily go anywhere with Nate?
I know. There's a million red flags flying, and you don't know him. He says his family's going to be there. She really doesn't.
Has she met his family?
No.
Like, because they don't exist.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, he probably has the family.
Right, yeah. Well, Lincoln James has a family, but Nate
wasn't it Lyndon James?
Lyndon, thank you. Lyndon James probably has a family, but Nate St. Germain does not exist. So no, that's like biggest red flags. Yeah, it's Emily's turn. Emily again is just in the worst bodily danger of anybody. She's the only one that keeps getting captured and attacked. I mean, Hannah got hit with a car. Like, I do understand that, but like that was quick and like it was surprising. Like there was no emotional like, oh my god, my girlfriend's been captured and like held in this cabin. Like Jesus Christ, Emily got put through the ringer. I mean, and not to mention like the weird stuff with the massage and everything. Her body is always in danger. Just yeah. It's intense. Poor Emily.
When did Toby join the A team?
We'll be getting to this some more a little bit later. Okay. But my theory is that when Toby said, I'll do it my damn self, he did it his damn self.
Damsels do it them damn self.
That's right, exactly. Toby being the damsel in this.
He wasn't distressed.
He was the princess, but you know what? The princess gonna figure it out. He's the Princess Peach to Spencer's Mario.
Did you know that Mario has like 6 little like curves in his mustache and Princess Peach has 6 eyelashes and then Luigi only has 2 or 3 or whatever, and Daisy, isn't it Princess Daisy, the one that's with him, has like only 2, like her mustaches, their mustache and eyelashes match. I saw this on the internet the other day.
So funny. I didn't know that at all.
And I don't know if it was intentional, you know what I mean? Right. Like, but someone posted it and I was like, wow.
Right. So that means
I didn't know Daisy was supposed to be with Luigi. Right. I don't know the plot. Right. I just played the game.
There isn't one. But so you add those together, you take the 6 and the 6, and then the 2 and the 2. That means the Taylor's version is going to release in 12/4.
What about Spencer's version?
Spencer's version, yeah.
Speaking of Spencer's version, do you want to get into your theories on who A is? Because those are my last questions. Like, who do you think the top A is, and what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, real quick before we get there, poor Paige. Just, of course, she like is captured, like and held hostage. She thinks she's going to help, and
I thought you were going to say she thinks she's going to hell, and I was like,
I think she does.
Damn,
she does think a little bit about that probably. But yeah,
religious trauma.
No, yeah, and I thought it was interesting too that this show once again is leaning into like the gay characters as like focal points of like violence, and this time I think it's like different, like because it's like men who is projecting themselves onto women, and I think that like lines up with my ickiness around like Nate describing like their sexuality as in like he feels like entitled to them.
Exactly. Like, oh, why isn't she also interested in me?
Yeah, completely.
Maya was, so like,
right.
I mean, without saying that.
Totally, exactly. That like, well, like if you're not with me, then I have if you aren't interested in me, then I have the right to like attack you pretty much. It's over the top, I know for sure. And very, of course, just
I mean, there's some horrible men out there, so it's
totally. So I thought it was interesting, at least this way, where I've had like reservations on some of that stuff in the past, and I don't think it's expressly like probably aiming to be talking about like men and feeling entitled to like especially like gay women and like lesbian sexuality as a thing. But I thought it was an interesting parallel to draw of like men feeling entitled to women's sexuality even when it's between two women.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, but we can go on to adjacent subjects. Over at the station. Theory Corner. Welcome to Theory Corner. Pull up a chair.
As long as you didn't bring me in for questioning. Are you going to bring Toby in for questioning? What would you ask him?
Everybody. I forgot his name. Crap. Keegan
Allen?
Keegan Allen. Keegan Michael Key, everybody.
But you're just, what would you ask Toby? I'm thinking in the show, not like what would you interview the actor? Like, what would you ask Toby if you knew he was A? Like,
how could you? So it would be like, when did you? Well, okay. So if I was gonna ask Toby, I knew he was A, or he was on the A team, which we get confirmation of the A team this episode, official, and we already kind of knew. Because like Mona didn't seem to be acting alone, but it's good to at least have our first confirmed member of the A team, even if it happens to be Toby, and we all feel betrayed by this. That's just a fact. But let's see. But what would I ask Toby? It's like, when did you? I would probably want to know when he joined. His reasons for joining. Who has he been talking to?
Sounds like a job interview.
What made you interested?
What made you interested in the position? And how long did you work there?
Yeah. What kind of culture?
What's the team vibe like? Like, what kind of team do you like? Do you like to work more independently? Are you better as part of a team and you like to collaborate?
They seem to be like independent but collaborate. You know what I mean? You go home, you work on your own things, but then you collaborate. Each individual piece important. And I'd want to know who's on the A team. But if I was gonna like blink twice if you're under duress. Do you need help? But my theory for Toby being part of the A team is that he joined later. Like I said, damsels do them to themselves. He wants to know. He wants to put a stop to this once and for all. And so that's why I think Toby's doing this. That's why I think he's part of that team. He's in deep. He's undercover, so he can figure it out. But that's also why I think he's the one who calls Emily to help her out, because he doesn't want her to get hurt.
Oh, so he tells her to get out.
Yeah, at the cabin, because they're keeping an eye on that. So I think like if Caleb hadn't showed up, would Toby have rushed in? Maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah. because I think Toby's still a good person. Look at all this faith I have in Toby.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that the show could possibly pull the rug out from under me. But that's my running theory with Toby. And so connected to that wider A team, which you're excited with, of Mona, Lucas, who I think is, helping traffic drugs, but Black Dynamite. And I still think Jenna is at the top of that pyramid, even if Jenna is not directly A.
So then are Mona, Lucas, and Toby her 3 friends that she recruited?
Yes. I do think that Toby would have got inducted through Jenna, because that's the most direct path for him to be a part of the team.
So what 3 friends do you think Toby's going to recruit?
Oh, that's true. I don't know
And
what
what
friends
about
he
Mona?
has. Mona recruited Lucas.
Oh, okay. So she's got a down a little.
Downstream, right?
I guess your upline and your downline?
Downline. There you go. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Does Toby have friends? I hope so. But I really don't know if Toby has friends.
Oh, I don't know.
No.
Emily.
Right, but he can't recruit Emily. She's target. I mean, Mona didn't invite Spencer to be part of it.
Yeah.
So I guess why not?
What if all the girls are actually A?
All of them?
Uh-huh.
They're all terrorizing each other?
Uh-huh.
They're all from separate recruiting people?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was probably Toby or Nate that planted the earring. Probably more likely to be someone from the A team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Yeah, because what does Nate care about Allison's whole thing?
Right, yeah. So I think I was incorrect on that earlier in the podcast. But Noel is also part of the A team. I think there's a good chance that Melissa is also part of the A team. And I think people are maybe connected for different purposes. Like some potential shared hatred of Allison, some things that were related to her. I think maybe Allison is more a vehicle for like some of the secrets and things that now bind these people together, even if it's not directly about Allison anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was a catalyst there through probably initially the NAT club, and then people connected to those people, and then has spiraled further out from there. And so they do have Allison's body somewhere on ice, which is gross, and then a collection of tchotchkes that people decided that they would bury with Allison like a time capsule. Dig up 30 years. Oh, look.
People put things in caskets all the time, right?
I know, but it's just funny, the collection of friends that we keep finding more things. A Ouija piece. An earring. And it's like, what did you bury with Allison? What secret did you put down there?
Mm-hmm.
But, and so I think it does all connect back to that NAT club of whatever the hell they were like filming and getting their rocks off somehow. And has now spiraled to like where they're all keeping their own individual secrets and are now connected to that. And I think Jenna is a usurper to Allison's menace throne in a sense. But I do think Jenna was actually looking out for Emily when she went to Emily's house, of just like, hey, I like, because I think Jenna does.
She plays with the food.
Exactly, but she doesn't want to. She wants to be able to control them. She doesn't want people to actually die and get murdered.
Well, and it's also like she wants to control them. She doesn't want someone else doing that.
Right, but she also doesn't want them actually dying. I don't think Jenna's
what game would you play?
Jenna's not in the murder business, but she also doesn't have a taste for it. You know what I mean? Like, she's never going to go that far unless she's like extremely pushed to, and so still feels bad if it's like, oh my god, that's a huge jump, right? Where it's like, okay, I would be like actually not helping this person. And I think Jenna is legitimately afraid of this person because he has accosted her multiple times in public. Which is like 100% fair.
Because men are creepy.
Yeah. And so I think the A text that we're getting now is maybe a bit more diluted. And so what I'm trying to understand a bit more is how Nate had access, I guess, like how Nate had access to everybody's phones to be able to do the similar thing. I guess you can just get
Block your
people's
number.
Yeah, and like maybe got it out of Emily's phone to be able to text everybody. Because I don't. What texts are signed A is the thing. Because how would he know about that?
You
if
could
it
just send
was
an
him?
anonymous text.
Right, but were they signed A?
I don't think a lot of them were.
Which would make sense. But so then I think that would like tell us like which I don't
Yeah,
think
like was he clued in?
Right. And so I think, not that he was clued in or who it came from. I don't think Nate was clued in.
Okay.
I think he was doing his own thing, his creepy own thing, of like chasing down like Emily and relating to Maya. But was there other machinations like going on? But I'm assuming all the texts were him to try and get people out to different places.
Yeah.
To try and get them away. Because like the graveyard is where I think things get where it can be a little bit confusing. If Nate sent them all out there to get them from not following up with Emily, I think is maybe the intention.
To keep them busy.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see more in due time. But I think Caleb's I think Caleb's probably still alive.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, what if I told you that the spinoff show he has is spooky?
Ooh, he's a ghost. But I think he's still alive.
Okay. Only because there's a season in between now and then.
Right, exactly. But I think that's kind of all for Theory Corner. I don't know if I have much more to go off of.
Where do you think Jason is?
Where is Jason? Jason is like adjacent to all this. And just like caught up and sad and spiraling.
No.
And I think he doesn't want to be controlled by these people, but they're really good at doing it. And they also got one of their own out. Garrett's back out. So yeah, Jason just left town.
Well, are you ready to watch the Halloween Train episode then?
I am ready. But for now, we will bid you all adieu.
Adieu.
Goodbye.
To you and you and you.
And you.
Do you want to maybe do your sign off instead?
Yeah. Yeah, so is next week, I'm going to pull up our
Pull up the calendar.
Pull up our calendar, see where we're looking at. So, next week is Pretty Dirty Secrets, the 8-episode web series that they put together.
Okay.
But I'm thinking because that'll probably be a short episode. If we find that it's too thin on like stuff to talk about,
we'll watch the Halloween one too.
Yeah, and we can do both together.
The Halloween episode's really good.
Yeah, so we can play it by ear. Or if we find other things that we want to do along with that episode, if we'd rather like take time to like recap stuff or like talk about favorite characters and episodes, we can do that and then have a Halloween special and have kind of like cut down ones. So we got a couple ideas that we could do this, but you will find out when that goes up. And we will as well.
We'll find out as well. Well, any final thoughts?
Good episode.
Yeah.
Liked the 12 a lot.
You're going to love the Halloween episode, I think.
Yeah.
I love the Halloween episode.
Okay. Yeah, it's because it's a direct in the same, oh my God.
Instead of it being a flashback,
yeah.
It's actually in chronological order.
So, yeah, excited to see what happens on the ghost train. But,
it made me very suspicious of a certain character for A. Was I right or wrong? I won't tell you, because if you're suspicious of the same one.
Right. But we shall see. Oh, I mean, I also kind of forgot to throw in Theory Corner of, I guess, like other people that were potentially part of it. Cece could potentially be part of the A team, and our good old friend Melissa, who hasn't been around.
What about Ezra? Have we given up on Fitz?
I've given up on Fitz.
He's got so much going on.
He really does have a lot going on. I just don't see him now connected to this. He's got.
He can't even keep track of where his potential future child is. Not future, current.
Right, current child. It's growing up right before him.
Right away from him.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't even know. All right, that's it for me then.
All right. Well, then we'll see you all next week.
You want to do plugs?
I got nothing to plug this week.
Okay. Yeah.
I haven't done anything new. We got married. I'm tired.
You can find all our plugs or link trees in the description below. You can find this podcast on YouTube. Our handle now is dead_ends. But you can also you can just look up Dead Ends and find us. You can also find this on all your podcast platforms of choice if you prefer the audio version at Dead Ends. And
don't
then,
like to watch me eating in the back when I don't want to be next to the microphone, but I need a snack mid-episode.
Yeah, there you go. And you can, if we appreciate, rate and review us on all your podcast platforms of choice.
And thank you to the people that do.
Yeah.
I've read some of those and they're very nice.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And then, likes and subscribes on YouTube help us. We're a small little podcast. You can also send emails to deadendspcast@gmail.com. That's deadendspcast@gmail.com. If you have questions, comments that you want us to read or things to talk about on the episodes.
Tell us how you feel about the Toby reveal.
Yeah, fair enough. Or
Brenton,
for people that
Brenton
are
audibly went no.
And then for people that are rewatching, what was your first experience watching it at the time, or what the impact was.
Do you feel different about it now?
Mm-hmm. And then but if you are talking about things in the future, please either put in the let us a spoiler section up in the subject line, or just
so that I can read it.
Mm-hmm. And then you can also find us on Twitter at deadendspcast for any show updates and scheduling updates. Otherwise, I'm not really posting on there.
It's a dark place on Twitter.
It is, and only getting darker. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're still here. We're going to find out everything.
Do you think you're ever going to find out who A is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoever they decide is the one person they're going to blame. But I mean, this is a web. This is a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
It's all black hoodies and gloves. That's what it is, instead of Mary Kay vehicles.